you're violating the homeowner's agreement.
Ma'am, this is a police vehicle. It is legally parked right here. I'm just doing my job, folks.
She made just one phone call, and she had no idea that in a few minutes, she would be in handcuffs. I've seen a lot in my life. Crimes, arguments, screams, sirens, moments when one wrong decision can change a life forever. But that day, what happened was different from everything I had ever seen. My police squad car, clearly marked, a symbol everyone could recognize, suddenly, right before my eyes, disappeared. And when I found out that an ordinary civilian did this, I almost couldn't believe it was real. My name doesn't matter. My uniform says enough. I've been in the police force for years. I've done things most people only see in the news, but the most dangerous people don't always carry weapons. Some carry a clipboard and a misunderstanding, and they think authority is their birthright. And this story is exactly about that misunderstanding. It's a story of the intoxication of power, the limits of the law, and the moment one woman decided she was above the police. That day was completely ordinary. No high alert, no dangerous call. I was sent to a suburban area where every lawn, every street, every house looked almost identical. This was the kind of place where HOA rules are written in tiny words, and people often live more in fear of the HOA than the law itself. I parked my squad car legally on T Street, clearly marked police. I locked the car, put the keys in my pocket, and walked over to my partner. Just 10 minutes later, everything changed. When I turned back, my squad car was gone. And that's when I realized this was no ordinary day. This was the beginning of a huge misunderstanding and a power struggle. She was standing there, full of confidence, yelling orders at the tow driver, believing she was in charge of the situation. Her hands held a clipboard, as if she were some official officer. A look of authority on her face, the kind you see in people who think power is their birthright. And behind her, my police squad car slowly rising onto the tow truck. I stepped closer and said, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" She looked at me for just a moment, then immediately returned her attention to the tow driver. "I told you to move the car immediately," she said sharply. "It's parked illegally." I kept my composure. "This is a police car," I said clearly, "and it is legally parked." She laughed loudly. "I don't care who it belongs to," she said. "This neighborhood falls under HOA rules." I took a step forward. "My car. I am a police officer," I said. Now she looked at me fully, from head to toe, as if measuring who I really was. "Oh, so you're the cop," she said sarcastically. "The one who thinks wearing a uniform lets you break all the rules." My partner stepped forward as well. "Ma'am, you have no legal authority to have this car towed." She immediately replied, "I have full authority." She held her clipboard to her chest and said, "I am a member of the HOA board. This street is under our control, and I decided this car will not stay here." This was the moment I realized that she was not just wrong. She was dangerously wrong. I spoke calmly. "Mom, HOA has no power over public streets. This is municipal property." She quickly responded, "Those are just excuses. I've lived here for years. I know the rules." The tow driver was clearly confused. On one side, a woman who considered herself authority. On the other side, 2 police officers trying to stop her. He looked at me nervously. "Sir," she said everything was clear. I immediately said, "No, it's not clear. Put the car down right now." The driver hesitated, and that's when the situation escalated to a whole new level. Suddenly, she screamed, "You cannot stop me. I gave the order. Do you know who I am?" People nearby stopped and watched. Curtains were pulled back, doors opened. The whole neighborhood's attention was on us. She stepped toward me, pointing a finger. "If this car stays here, I will report both of you to the top." I took a deep breath. "Ma'am, you are crossing the line now." She crossed the legal boundary herself. I looked at the tow driver and said clearly, "If this car goes 1 inch higher on that truck, it will be an illegal seizure." She immediately said, "I take responsibility. Tow the car." That was the line that changed everything, because at that moment, she'd assumed legal responsibility herself. My squad car was completely lifted off the ground, and now it was no longer just an argument. It was a crime in progress. I pulled out my phone and called my chief. I didn't tell a long story. I said just one sentence. "Sir, a civilian has had my police squad car towed from a public street." Silence on the other end. A few seconds later, the chief said, "Stay right there. I'm on my way." She was still smiling, confident. "Good. Let them know what's happening upstairs," she said sarcastically. She had no idea that her smile wouldn't last long. She thought she had won, that the HOAS name was bigger than the police. But what she didn't know was that the situation was about to get completely out of her hands. When the chief's car pulled into the street, the atmosphere changed instantly. Just moments before, that woman had been full of confidence, yelling at the tow driver, believing she was the most powerful person there. But as soon as the chief stepped out, her voice quieted. "My chief is not the kind of officer who shouts or threatens. They stay calm, and often, that calmness is the most frightening thing." They looked around, the tow truck, my squad car, the crowd of people. Then they stopped directly in front of her. The chief didn't give a long speech. They asked just one question. "Did you give the order to tow this police vehicle?" For a moment, she looked around nervously. People were watching. Phones were out, recording. And then, she did what people like this often do. She said, confidently, "Yes, I gave the order." At that moment, the chief looked at me, then at the tow driver, and back at her. They just nodded. The arrest followed. The chief said calmly but firmly, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for grand theft auto." For a few seconds, silence. Her face turned white. "What?" "This is a joke, right?" she stammered. "I didn't steal anything. I was just enforcing rules," the chief replied. "Enforcing rules was not your authority. You knowingly had a government vehicle illegally towed." She tried to make excuses. "I didn't know it would be such a big deal. I was only doing it for the HOA." The chief raised a hand and stopped her. "Ma'am, I didn't know is not a defense in the law," they signaled me. I pulled out the handcuffs. When the handcuffs went on her wrists, people in the neighborhood watched in stunned silence. The same people who just minutes ago thought she was the authority. The same HOA members who always stood by her. Now, nobody said a word. The tow driver looked down, and she was crying. Many people don't understand that grand theft auto is not just stealing a car. According to the law, if you move someone's vehicle without the owner's permission, and you know you have no authority, but still do it, that is theft. And this wasn't just an ordinary car. It was a government police vehicle. The aftermath was immediate. She was removed from the HOA board. Criminal charges were filed. The HOA itself faced a civil case for not clearly defining her authority. Her name became an example in the neighborhood, a warning whispered by everyone. I stood by my squad car alone for a moment, the same car that had disappeared just hours before. I opened the door, sat down, and stayed silent for a moment. That day taught me something important. Power is not what you give yourself. Authority is not something a title or clipboard can grant. Power comes from the law. And when someone believes they are above the law, whether they wear a uniform or not, whether they are on an HOA board or not, the outcome is always the same. Because the law may be silent, but it is never blind. And when it moves, no pride, position, or misunderstanding can stop it.